أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين حبيب الله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى صدق الله العلي العظيم. يا جماعة الصلوات. I begin by sending my peace and blessings to the Holy Prophet and his blessed progeny. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, sisters, and respected scholars. How blessed are we, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, those that are the lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that we get to gather here today and we get to remember our Mawla, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And of course, I want to take this chance to congratulate all of you and the Imam of our time on the walada of our Mawla. For when we look at the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we can see that his life is a jewel for us of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. We need to make sure that we make the full use of these jewels. So from every single lineage, your parents have given you and handed down these jewels to you, these jewels of the Ahlul Bayt, and from their parents and their parents. And this is something that is so important for us to understand and for us to make sure that we commemorate these jewels and we make sure that we understand them completely. For if you have these beautiful jewels in front of you and you don't understand or appreciate the true value of these, you'll never understand or you'll never be able to benefit from these jewels. So it's important for us as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt and as a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen to be able to commemorate and to come together to remember about the aspects of Imam Ali alayhi salam's life. And what better than the birth of Amir al-Mu'mineen? We find within our own lives, we have that love of Amir al-Mu'mineen in our hearts. But for some others, this love only enters once they are in salah or once they enter those doors of the masjid. But ask yourself, how much do I have the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen in my own daily lives? When I'm having trouble at home, do I remember Allah? Do I remember Amir al-Mu'mineen and his qualities? When I'm having issues at the workplace, do I remember the qualities of Amir al-Mu'mineen and try to replicate it in the same manner? When we have so many trials and tribulations in our everyday lives, we realize that we forget about those qualities of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And we fall to our own desires. And as a result, we're not able to truly get that value of this jewel that is in front of us, the jewel of the Ahlul Bayt. And the Holy Prophet, with all of these values of the jewels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, I started with the following. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلَكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمُوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Say to the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I do not ask of you anything for me except for the love of my kin. He uses an important word, mawaddah. What does this word mean? We hear this many times, and this is a form of love, a form of kinship. But tonight I want to dissect this topic a bit further, and I want to make sure we completely understand this word mawaddah and what love means into our own hearts. When we say mawaddah, what exactly do we mean? Do I mean just love? For example, just the same amount that I would love my brother or my mother or my father. Is this mawaddah the same form of love? Well, let's go ahead and use this basic translation of love. Let's say that this mawaddah means love. What exactly does this love even mean? What is love? We hear it so many times in today's society. We hear it on social media. Oh, I love this, I love that. We use this word, and because of that, the value of this word, the love, is diminished. When we talk about the love of the Ahlul Bayt, I don't mean the same love as anything else when we're describing it. This is what mawaddah means. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And to continue further on this topic, what does it mean for me, the follower of the Ahlul Bayt, to say I love Amir al-Mu'mineen? What does it mean for me to say that Ali ibn Abi Talib has a place in my heart? What do you love about Amir al-Mu'mineen? Can you tell me? Which aspects of Amir al-Mu'mineen do you love? Oh, I love Imam Ali as a whole. Well, remember, the Ahlul Bayt have come to us as Uswatul Hasana. They've come to us as the best kind of examples. So those qualities of Amir al-Mu'mineen, you need to find those qualities to be able to love it. If you love Imam Ali's courage, are you replicating that courage upon yourself? If you love his wisdom, are you attempting to reflect that kind of wisdom on yourself and to find that kind of wisdom? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Those aspects of Imam Ali that I love, am I replicating them in my own daily life? And that's where we return to that topic, as we said. Sometimes this love only happens once you enter the doors of this masjid. And it leaves tomorrow when you go back to work. Don't make it this way. Make sure that we, as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, along with these beautiful jewels that we have a responsibility to govern them. We have a responsibility to share these jewels to others, to make sure that others are learning from this just as much as we are. If you go tomorrow and you forget about Amir al-Mu'mineen, when you're tasked with trials and tribulations, when you have issues, can you really say that you are the lover of Amir al-Mu'mineen? So this is an important aspect that we want to look at. And mawadda itself, it is a love that's followed with servitude. When I have that love for the person, that's so much of a love that I want to listen to whatever they say. I want to follow every command that they give me. And I want to reflect that kind of wisdom or the attributes that this person has into my own life. This is the highest level of love that one can attain. This is the mawadda for the family of the Holy Prophet. This is the mawadda for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to make sure that we have such a love where we are following them in our own daily lives. This is the type of servitude that we want to be able to replicate those that we love. And there's a famous saying by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, Al-qalbu haram Allah, fala taskun haram Allah ghayrullah. Your heart, your soul, this is a sanctuary of Allah. It's a haram of Allah. Do not let anything enter this haram except for Allah. We only need to make sure that nothing enters our hearts and nothing becomes the source of our worship, the source of our faith, except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where we enter a sort of shirk. When we say shirk, we don't just mean that this is ascribing a partner to say that there is another Allah or another God. This God can be in your own daily lives. What is it that you put in place of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own daily life? Is it money? Is it fame? Is it to be successful? Many of us have found that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not our own goal at the end of the day. It's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're striving towards, but rather it is other different goals. And the Ahlul Bayt have never said not to be successful and not to reach for our goals. But at the end of the day, the source of your goals must be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be at the source of everything that you do. And this is the love of the Ahlul Bayt that we discuss. When we discuss hubb and mawadda, when we discuss servitude, this is the love that we want to make sure that we replicate. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادِهِ رَبِّهَ أَحَدًا. He says, let them do good deeds and associate none in the worship of Allah. You want to make sure that there is no shirk in this ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we discuss monetary people, or when we discuss money as our goal, or when we discuss success in the ways of, for example, fame as our goal, we need to understand that all of this is a material goal. This is a goal that we can't take with us to our akhirah. This is a goal that it ends as soon as we end our own life. As soon as we pass away and we go to the akhirah, none of this remains. You cannot find a goal within a material world. The everlasting goal is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says in the Quran, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that that which is with us will remain, and that which is all else will perish. So in this sense, we need to make sure that we ascribe only Allah as our Lord. And there cannot be another partner that we would ascribe with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let that be anything else or any other goals that you want to put for yourselves. And what do we mean by those goals? Is for the imams to be able to understand them a little better. We need to understand that their motivations, their goals, their hadaf in every single thing that they do is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single action that is within their own lives is for a way for them to strive to reach completion, to reach a level which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be satisfied with them. So I need to ask you yourselves, what is your own motivation in life? Where do you hope to achieve? What wakes you up at night? What wakes you up in the morning? Because you know some people, for example, when they go to the gym, we see they wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym and then go to work. Many of us can't do that, right? But we see that there's this love that they have. This love that wakes them up in the morning at 6 a.m. to go to the gym and then to work. Or to go to the gym and go to school. This is that level of hope that they have. And we need to find that level with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because only with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does a mu'min wake up in the middle of night to pray Salatul Layl. It is only with this love that a mu'min continues and tries to achieve their goal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ سَيَجْعَلُ لَهُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ وُدًّا. As for those who believe and do good, the most compassionate will certainly bless them with a genuine love. Wudda, as in mawadda. We mean the same kind of words. Salawat. And this is so beautiful. Don't you all agree? Islam is filled with love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us so much, and He has so much mercy for us. But we want to make sure that we return that kind of love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مُوَدَّةَ وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left for you a sort of love and compassion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created that mawadda for you. And this is the same kind of love, for example, when we say mawadda, for you to be able to follow and love at the same time, as for example, a lot of husbands will have with their wives, right? We see that their wives will ask them to do something and they'll get up and do it. For you who of course haven't been married, you might ask, why would someone do something like that? But I know my brothers who are married, of course, they understand that level of mawadda, that level of loving and following as a result of that love, and listening to what they have to say as a part of that love. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he loved in this manner. In this pure, divine love was the love of Imam Ali. And I want to look into Du'a Kumail to understand how Imam Ali describes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or how he explains Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all recite Du'a Kumail, we all listen to it, but do we dissect it and understand it a bit further? Imam Ali alayhi salam, he gives to Kumail, he gives this dua, and this is one of my own personal favorite aspects of Du'a Kumail, where he says, فحبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك. I can stand your azab, I stand your punishment, but how can I stand being away from you and understanding that your mercy is away from me? This is the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen. It does not matter how much you punish me, but if it means I'm going to have to be away from you, how can I bear that as a lover of the Ahlul Bayt? How can I bear that as the lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I have that level of muwaddah? This is the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen that we need to understand. We can never endure that separation that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to be away from Him. And this is the level of muwaddah that we need to understand. So it brings us back to that understanding of these treasures of the Ahlul Bayt and these lessons on love that the Ahlul Bayt give us. It is so beautiful what they've taught us. And we need to make sure to replicate this. And there's this very famous hadith. We've been told from hadith, the spirit and the essence of religion is nothing but love itself. Burayd al-Ijili, he says, I was in the presence of Imam Baqir. When he's traveling, he comes from Khurasan. He's traveled a long way and he's walked a long way. And his feet are tired, it's cut, and his shoes are torn. He comes to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, and he says that, by God, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, by God, the only thing that has brought me from when I have come is love of you, the household of the Prophet, says the man. The Imam, how does he reply? He says, by God, if a stone had loved us, Allah will unite it with us. This is the love that we need to make it sure to have. The man says he came all the way from Khurasan to meet this person, to meet Imam Baqir alayhi salam. This is the lover of the Ahlul Bayt. And we need to listen to what Imam Baqir says. That if he loves us to that point, Allah will make sure that he joins us. Allah will make sure that he gets close to us. So this is the kind of love that we need to make. Does this not show that our religion is nothing but love? Does it show that it's not anything but hubb and mawaddah? This is the love of the Ahlul Bayt. And there's a very famous story, I'm sure all of you are aware, the story of Layla and Majnun. Majnun is asked, why do you love Layla? So the king, he goes and he calls and he tries to find Layla. And he finds her and he brings her to his palace. He says, who are you that Majnun is so crazy for you, that he's gone insane for you? Majnun, he comes, when he's brought over to ask this question, he responds in this way. Only will you know if you had the eyes of Majnun. If you had the eyes of the Ahlul Bayt, you would understand how much they loved Allah. That hubb and mawaddah that is paired with that worship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the love. And this love is a love that will truly lead you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can even see on a societal level, only does society grow when there is a level of love between a ruler and those that he rules. When you compare that to a society which is forced, or one of a society that is of a tyrant, we see that they don't excel as much because there's no love in this society. Only in a society when we find a ruler that loves who he rules, and those who he rules love their ruler, do they truly become successful. Because only then do they have that hubb between each other. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says to Malik al-Ashtar when he sends him to Egypt, there is a very, very famous letter. And this letter is read in all of our classes to be able to understand in politics. He says to Malik al-Ashtar, awaken in your heart mercy for your subjects and love for them and kindness toward them. So give them of your forgiveness and your pardon, just as you would like Allah to give you His forgiveness and His pardon. So replicate that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you have upon your people. And only then in this society will you be able to prosper. And only then can we find that level of mawaddah that we need in our hearts. And we have many verses that say that you should only take a mu'min as your friend. Because of this, when we love a mu'min, when we love a follower of the Ahlul Bayt, we tend to replicate them in our own lives. Their actions, their manners, how they walk, how they speak. And this is all subconscious. This is on a psychological level. That when we love someone to a point, we love aspects of them that we want to show in our own lives. And through this love, we're able to shape ourselves. And there's a very famous poem that says, if there is a desire for union in your head, O Hafiz, you must become like clay in the craftsman's hands. If you want to create yourself in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you, you want to make sure that you replicate the Ahlul Bayt. So that brings us to the end of our discussion on Amir al-Mu'mineen, on his walada. How much do you love Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? How much do you have that mawaddah? When you go tomorrow to work, do you remember that hubb of Ali? Do you remember that love of Ali that's within your heart? Or do you forget about it? Because as we said, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt we need to make sure that our job and our obligation is to protect this jewel that is the Ahlul Bayt. And Imam Ali alayhi salam, I'll finish off right here. When Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, when he worships Allah, he says, Ya Allah, I do not worship you because I fear hell. And I do not worship you because I desire heaven. But I found you to be the only one worthy of my worship for me to love you. And that's the level of hubb and mawaddah that we need to have. And this level of love that we need to have to be able to replicate those of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And I want to finish off just right here. In a very famous commentary of Ibn Sina, one says, the soul is that whose source is the essential resemblance of the soul of their lover, with the soul of the beloved. Most of the lover's delight is in the characteristics of the beloved, which proceed from the soul of the beloved. It makes the soul tender, yearning, and ecstatic, and gives it delicacy of feeling, which detaches it from distractions of this world. Meaning, that which the lover loves of the beloved, they will take from them. So we need to make sure that we can take for the Ahlul Bayt. We need to take from them. That's the level of love and the understanding and worship that we need to have from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.